Today, we're going to tackle a really fascinating paradox, one that actually shapes our world in ways you might not expect, from global politics all the way down to your own office. It's all about a situation where making the smartest possible choice for yourself somehow ends up being the worst choice for everyone, including you. So, how does that work? Let's find out.
I mean, just think about that for a second. We're always told to be logical, to look out for number one. But what if that very logic can backfire and trap us? Well, that question, that's the absolute heart of what we call the prisoner's dilemma. So, to really get our heads around this, we have to go back to the original thought experiment. It's a classic story about crime, betrayal, and a little bit of game theory. Okay, so picture this. Two partners in crime get caught. The police are smart, so they split them up into separate interrogation rooms. Now, here's the most important part. They can't talk to each other at all. They have absolutely no idea what their partner is about to do. Each prisoner has the exact same two options. You can cooperate with your partner. That means you both stay silent. You don't rat each other out. Or you can defect. You can testify against your partner, spill the beans, and hope the police give you a better deal for it. And here's where it gets really interesting. Let's look at the outcomes. If you both cooperate, you both stay silent, you each get a small sentence, say 1 year. Great. But if you defect and your partner stays silent, you walk away free, and they get hit with a massive 10-year sentence. Now, what if you both defect? Well, then you both get a pretty hefty sentence, like 5 years each. So, from a purely individual, rational point of view, defecting always seems like the best move. Think about it. If your partner stays silent, you're better off defecting. And if your partner defects, you're still better off defecting to avoid that huge 10-year sentence. And that right there is the paradox in a nutshell. Because both prisoners are smart, they both follow that same cold herd logic, and so they both choose to defect. They both end up serving 5 years when they could have just gotten 1 year each if they'd only been able to trust each other and cooperate. So let's just put a formal name on it. The prisoner's dilemma isn't really about prisoners. It's any situation where everybody acting in their own perfectly logical self-interest ends up creating a worse result for the entire group. All right, now let's zoom out. We're going to take this simple idea from a thought experiment and see how it plays out on a massive global scale. You know, this isn't just some academic puzzle. This exact same dynamic unfolds on the world stage constantly, especially in these really high-stakes situations where trust is low and the temptation to get an edge is huge. A perfect example? International climate agreements. For any single country, the choice looks awfully familiar. You can cooperate, right? You reduce your emissions, you invest in green tech. It's a shared sacrifice for the good of the planet. Or you can defect. You just keep polluting, maximize your short-term economic growth, and kind of hope everyone else picks up the slack. The incentive to get that competitive advantage is just enormous. And we see this play out all the time. You have major economic powers, like the US and China, who are constantly locked in this kind of dilemma. They both understand the long-term threat of climate change, but neither one wants to give up a short-term economic edge because they're afraid the other one won't hold up their end of the bargain. It's literally the prisoner's dilemma on a global scale. Okay, let's bring this all the way down from the global stage to a place you probably know a little too well, your own workplace. Ever been on a big team project where it's not clear who's going to get the credit at the end? You're facing the same choice. Do you cooperate? Share the credit, make sure everyone who contributed gets recognized, and build trust for the next project? Or do you defect? Do you try to take all the credit for yourself to get that promotion or that bonus? The short-term, rational choice might seem to be to grab the spotlight, but it totally poisons the well for future collaboration. And this really gets to the heart of how we can escape this dilemma in our own lives. See, unlike the prisoners who only play the game once, our relationships at work, with friends, and our communities, these are repeated games. And in that kind of long-term game, building a reputation as someone who cooperates, someone who's trustworthy, that almost always pays off way more in the long run. So the big question is, how do we do it? If we're stuck in these logical traps, how do we actually break free and get to those better outcomes? Honestly, the biggest, most powerful step is just awareness, just recognizing when you're in a prisoner's dilemma. Once you can see the structure, that tension between what's good for you right now versus what's good for everyone in the long run, it gives you the power to make a different choice. It lets you step back and say, okay, how can we change the rules here? Maybe that means better communication, building trust, or creating new incentives so that working together actually becomes the most logical choice for everyone involved. So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. As you go about your week, look around at your job, in your community, even when you're reading the news. Now that you know this pattern, I promise you are going to start seeing it everywhere. And once you see the game, you get to decide how you want to play it.